Now that we've entered all of our forms into the target lexicon, we're ready to begin importing these tables. And for the verbs, we import the first 5 tables. I'm working on some things, that's why some of these are in green. Table 4 is for adverbial clauses, verbs in adverbial clauses. Table 5 is for illocutionary forces. And here we have some discontinuous verb phrases. So let's go ahead and import the first 5 tables. So we'll go to Utilities, and this is document number 3, all types of phrases and clauses for English. And we'll select the first 5 tables. All of the selected tables were imported from the Word document. So now when we come over here, if we look here in the spell out rules for verbs, we see that there's a new rule, and it has 5 layers. The names for these layers come from the Word document. If we come up here, see up here in the left corner, tenses and polarities, unmarked aspect. Tenses and polarities, unmarked aspect. And let's look at this. Let's drag this up. So you can see each row in the table corresponds to a row up here in the rule, past affirmative. Okay, the names come from here, past affirmative. And it chooses the form that we specify here, so that's right here. Past negative is here, which chooses the stem, and you see the didn't. The didn't comes from what's inside the verb phrase but before the actual verb. The next one, certainly. So it comes like this. And incidentally, sometimes the form of the verb depends on a much wider context, maybe even the entire sentence. So in that situation, okay, for example, I'm here in the Philippines, and here every verb has numerous forms. There are actor-focused forms, there are object-focused forms, there are benefactive forms, locative forms, etc. So sometimes the form of the verb depends on a much wider context than what's in the verb phrase. For a language like that, that's what this radio button is up here for. Set a feature value. If you can't select a verb form based on what's here inside the verb phrase, instead you need to look at a much wider context, then you would use this option. And we described this option over in that previous series. But for this video series, we're working on English, and this approach works fine for English. So layer number 2, all aspects, tenses, and polarities. If we go down to table number 2, the name comes from here, all aspects, tenses, and polarities. And inceptive aspect, past inceptive, it uses the participle, as we see here, and it uses started right there. So the rows here in your Word document correspond to the rows in the rule, and the layers here in the rule correspond to the tables in the Word document. So let's go ahead and let's check out for the illocutionary forces. Okay, remember we have discontinuous verb phrases. Later we'll find out we actually need to do considerably more work. This gets us off to a good beginning. But since there are discontinuous verb phrases, these are in the name of the column is preverbal 2 and preverbal 1. We like to keep the names very simple. And then when we go and look in our phrase structure rule for verb phrases, TBTA also entered preverbal 1. Well, okay, we actually need those in a different order. It should be preverbal 2 is further from the verb. Preverbal 1, preverbal, postverbal modifiers, okay? And now when we click the generate button, we see a person walked. And when we look over here, a person walked. So this text, you may remember, comes from our grammar introduction going way back. This comes from the MTT, and we linked this document to TBTA, and this translation, a person walked, is up here, and now TBTA's translation for the sentence matches the MTT's, so we get this message. Generated text is identical to document's text. So we'll save this. Let's go to the next verse. We'll generate it. Some people walked. Some people walked. TBTA's translation matches the MTT's, so we get this message in red. Generated text is identical to document's text. Let's save it. And that's enough for this video. In the next video, we'll generate a group of sentences and check them with the Word document.